All right, welcome back to the Wrenchbench. This is episode number 3.
Number 3.
Yeah, my name is Mark,
My name is Charles.
and today we wanted to go over Rockshxox's Flight Attendant system. That is their electronic. How do they word it again on that?
They've got I've got my way of saying it. It's the automatic electronically controlled suspension system.
Yes, this has been out since 2021 now. That was the first edition of it. And what it looks like today is what it looks like when it came out in 2021, even though today's is its second model of it. So
second generation
of
the Flight Attendant.
And to kind of give you a little bit of history of it, Flight Attendant in years past, this doesn't have to relate with it exactly, but it kind of does leading into Flight Attendant, I'm going to just briefly go over this, even though we're really mainly talking about Flight Attendant, is Rockshxox's brain.
Yes.
The brain edition of the suspension is a manual or just your before oh my gosh, I'm kind of losing the word.
I think before before the Flight Attendant was a thing, they had the Rockshxox brain, which was a similar idea where it's an automatic damper control. It feels the terrain and it'll make adjustments to your damper accordingly. But with the brain it's kind of an analog version. There's nothing digital about it. It's got a...
Concept-wise, it is on path of what the Flight Attendant does. Technology-wise, no. It's not. It just has the concept of the idea of working to adapt to the terrain of your suspension. So the only way that the brain works is if it is impacted by a larger volume of impact on your suspension, which causes that inertia valve to respond. That's it. So there's a lot of times where that inertia valve had a lot of issues with it. I rode it for many years, through a couple generations of it, and it just wasn't really the best. You just you couldn't really tell if it was working when it was on off. Things like that.
Yeah, like really cool idea, like you said, but in practicality, everyday use, just not there. The technology was not there, and frankly, still not there today. I'm just glad they don't produce the brain anymore.
Yeah, they discontinued it for a good reason, I think, because one Flight Attendant came out. This has been something that's been in the works for 5 to 7 years up until 2021, and really, primarily, they wanted to have this launch and come out because of so many of the pro riders were changing and adjusting their suspension. I mean, hundreds. I think they counted at one time. Nino Schroeder. I can't pronounce his last name. You can throw in comments and tell me that I'm absolutely dyslexic. I know it. But he was changing his suspension lockouts over 100 and something times per race.
Throughout the race, constantly making adjustments to the damper. Yep. Okay.
So, I mean, wrist lockout. Yeah. So much easier. So they came up with the idea of wanting to be able to say, how about we figure out something that can do it on its own so you can solely focus on racing?
Exactly. How about we make something that does it automatically and, frankly, maybe a little bit better even?
I think so. And we'll get into those things here in just a minute because it is absolutely fascinating. So, fast forward to 2021, Flight Attendant comes out. It was originally only on trail and enduro bikes.
High-end trail and enduro bikes.
Yes.
A couple of years ago, Flight Attendant, you see that out in the wild. That's a special occasion because it's so uncommon to see. It nowadays much more popular, but back then, it was a exciting thing to see out in the wild.
Yes. Very exciting. Really cool. It still is really cool.
Yeah.
And extremely fascinating. The first generation did not have to depend upon a power meter. So the things that Flight Attendant has to have in order for it to function is, one, your dampers. So it's your fork damper. It's going to be your specific Rockshxox damper that's in there with its control module. And then the rear shock has its own separate system to it that's similar to it, just on a condensed level of it. So those two systems communicate with all your other systems, which are going to be your cadence sensor, either your cadence or your power meter.
Both.
Both.
Yep.
But your first edition of the flight attendant did not have to have a power meter.
Correct.
This is where we'll talk about this in 2024 when the cross-country version came out. So we'll get to that in just a sec. But it goes off of lots of other sensors to adapt to the trail, and they have gyroscopes. They've got inclinometers. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, probably.
Inclinometer. And then you have accelerometers. So tons of data that's communicating back and forth, and it's communicating among all these sensors hundreds of times per, I think it was millisecond too.
Yeah, I think the newest version now makes adjustments to your damper every 50 milliseconds.
Yeah, crazy.
That's a little bit faster than you can do with your wrist.
Mind-blowing. And a lot of you are probably thinking, is there a way, like, what if it's like not riding the way I want it to ride? That's the great thing about Axis, Rockshxox's or Sram's platform called Axis. You can open up your app, and you can actually command or tell the suspension how you want it to ride based on your riding style. So if you want it to be more firm, you can say, bias, I want you to be more in the pedal mode and the lockout mode. So tell you what those are about. You have 3 modes on your suspension. You've got open, so it's plush. You've got pedal, so it's firmed up, but still has a little bit of give. And then you have lockout. So you're getting all the power to the wheel as best you can, helping you go uphill a little bit easier.
Yep, there you go.
So, over the summer or this season, we've been able to ride quite a bit of flight attendant. And tell me what your overall thoughts are.
I mean, you've got a bike with a flight attendant, so you've got a lot more experience than I have. I only have maybe a couple rides on a bike with flight attendant. So I don't know if you've mentioned this yet. Part of what makes flight attendant so cool is it grows and it learns and it actively gets better the more you ride it. So you take it out on a couple of rides, it'll learn your ride style and it'll adapt to it. So after a couple rides, it's going to get even better. So I don't know if I've ridden it quite enough, get it to even its full potential. Even without that, even like the first ride where it doesn't know my ride style, I was so impressed. Like you'd think, oh, automatic damper control, the way, like there might be a delay. I don't know. It didn't feel like that at all. Like I would be going and then, oh, there's like smooth cross-country trail and then there's like a little rock garden section. It almost feels like it knows before you even hit the first rock. But like you said, you hit that first rock, automatically it'll open up the damper so you get all that suspension, super smooth. And then I go back onto the smooth, and most of the time it's going to be in the pedal because you don't want it fully locked out because you still want some suspension, but not all of it. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, oh, super steep section. I need to like get out of the saddle and sprint. It just knows before I do. It's what it feels like. It locks up that suspension. That way I can get more power into the ground, like you said. So even before it's like been it blew me away. I'm so impressed.
Yeah, it's called Adaptive Ride Dynamics. That is the second generation as to the software that came out in 2024 when the cross-country stuff was released. Mm-hmm. So I, overall, since I've been able to ride it, I've done a lot of testing with the app and figuring out what ride style I like most, because I think overall, I feel like it's more bias towards being in firm mode a little bit more, and that's totally fine for a lot of riders. I just kind of noticed I wanted it to be a little bit more on the pedal and open side more.
Mm-hmm. And that's where the biases come in. Like, it's still fully automatic, but you can tell it to kind of bias towards having the damper more open as opposed to having it more closed. Yep. So still fully automatic, but you still have quite a bit of control over the suspension.
Yep. Really fascinating stuff. And I think, it's crazy how it's learned. I noticed right away when I was first riding it, there was a little bit of hiccups to it. It was kind of like it wasn't doing exactly what it needed right away. Because you didn't get to learn that experience. You didn't get to see that experience when I first got it.
Oh, yeah.
On the Epic 8 that I have. And it was about the first and second ride where it was a little weird. It was like, I don't know if I trust this right away. But about the third and fourth ride is when I saw that it started to like kind of sense who I was as a rider.
Yeah.
And notice the terrain that I was going over. And that's when it like clicked. And it was like, this is fascinating how fast this is. It's responsive. And the one thing that I did read from Sram was that they're not concerned in any way of the communication between all these sensors and how that seems like it could maybe be slow. The only slow portion to the suspension is just the suspension activating.
It's me, the rider. I'm the slowest part of the bike.
The riders, we're just horrible. We're not good enough for this stuff. AI is taking over. So
yep. And for some clarification, I keep wanting to say it, Rockshxox. The flight attendant part of the suspension, all it is it's got all the sensors, the accelerometers, the gyroscopes, and it's got just a little servo, a little bit motor. So your damper and everything are about the same. It's just the interface. So you can actually, if you have like a Rockshxox SID fork or Rockshxox suspension, you can actually upgrade it. You just need to switch out the damper for something that's compatible with it. So it's not like it's not like a flight attendant fork. It's just like a little add-on you put on the fork, and then boom, you have flight attendant. Yep. So it's super cool how like accessible it is, other than the price, unfortunately, which with new technology like this, especially technology that's this advanced, there's going to be a price to it.
Yep.
But the fact that it's not like the super highly proprietary thing, the fact that you can, if you have like a SID fork from Rockshxox and you want to upgrade it to a flight attendant, it's not that hard to do. All you need is like a power meter with the cadence sensor built in. You get the new damper, the flight attendant control module, and then the rear shock, and it's super easy to upgrade pretty much.
Yes, there is a couple things to it to note when you are upgrading, is that flight attendant, the power meter sensor for your adaptive ride dynamics portion of flight attendant.
Yeah, so there's, to clarify, there's like the 2021 through 2023 flight attendant where it's still pretty dang cool, but it doesn't adapt nearly as well. It's not nearly as smart. And then there's a 2024 plus where it's kind of more focused towards cross country, where it's really smart. So that's what you were talking about.
Correct, yeah. The newer version, you do have to have at least a cadence sensor, no matter what. That flight attendant will not function without a cadence sensor at all. If you have a power meter, it does have to be Sram's Cork power meters. Cork is their brand name to their power meters, all their power meters. It has to be one of theirs in order for the adaptive ride dynamics portion of it to work, which is going to be the side of the flight attendant that is, again, adapting to the rider over time. So if your FTP changes over time, changes with that as well. So it's constantly fluctuating, and it's constantly adapting to you as the rider, which is pretty sweet.
Super sweet. Another thing is the fact that it is fully automatic, but it does have like a manual mode. It does.
Yes.
Isn't there like a semi-automatic mode too? I'm forgetting.
Not semi-automatic, but a manual override.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
So yeah.
So with your older like I keep going back to the Rockshxox SID fork. It's a great fork. A lot of them have like a 3-position damper, open, pedal, closed, just like the Rockshxox, or the flight attendant. Maybe you don't want it to be fully controlling it, or maybe you want, like, even though you're going to like a rock garden, maybe you want it to be locked out for whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a manual override mode. You can even get one of the pod shifters, and it would be just as if you had like a remote lockout, except with instead all these ugly cables running around your bike, it's wireless. So.
Yep.
I guess technically you don't need a cadence sensor or a power meter if you want to use it in the manual mode, and you just want to be able to lock and unlock your suspension without all these ugly cables. So there is another use of it, albeit way overkill, because that's a lot of money for just losing some cables.
Yeah, you're just kind of, I don't know. If you're going to get the system, I'd say definitely keep it in its automatic mode where it's going to do everything for you. I think you'll be far more surprised.
Yeah.
At how well it functions, and it just gets even better over time the more you ride it.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get a bike with flight attendant this spring, and I'm super excited to truly get to experience it, other than just like a couple relatively short rides, because like for my limited experience, I've already had a really, really great, like, wow, this is super cool. Like, you don't think about it as much when you're riding, but just not having to think about, oh, should I lock my suspension now? Should I unlock it? It saves up so much brain power that you can use on you wouldn't think about this as like, you wouldn't thinking about locking or unlocking your suspension would be as big of a deal. But that was one of the biggest differences is like, if I'm out on a training workout, I can focus on my wattage more or anything else. That's just one thing you don't have to think about. So it's like kind of peace of mind in a way that I found really cool.
Definitely. I loved it a lot when I rode or raced Park City point to point, 75-mile race with about close to 10,000 vertical, 9,800. Long day on the bike, all single track, old school Park City trails. So they're really rough. They're not so much fun when you're at 50 miles and going into 75.
Yep.
And to see Flight Attendant functioning that whole time and not have to worry about anything of my suspension was really incredible. There's a lot of smooth sections where it is locking out, it's open, it's in pedal mode, it's all the above. It just does everything that you need.
Yeah.
So
in other words, it always keeps you in that happy medium. So
happy medium.
Like, yeah. Obviously, you could keep your suspension fully unlocked for the entire race. It's going to be fully plush, but then you're losing some efficiency in subsections where, like, with the Flight Attendant, you're always in that happy medium. So, yeah, exactly.
I think one of the coolest features to it is when you are coming up over a hill and you're at the crest of the hill and then you've got a little bit of a decline, and it may not even be so much of a decline that it's even noticeable to the human body, or I don't know what to call it, right?
You wouldn't even think about it.
But for some odd reason, I don't know how it does this, but it notices the downhill immediately, puts you in a pedal or right away in open, and there you are. You're in your sweet spot again. It's like, this is the most mind-blowing thing.
Yeah, so that's like even just riding a bike around the shop we work at with Flight Attendant is I would just like drop off like 2 stairs. It's not even a full foot of drop. And by the time that front wheel leaves the ground, the suspension is already unlocked before I make contact. So it'll go from fully locked to unlocked before I even touch the ground. So it like I keep just going back to it. Like it almost knows what you're gonna do before you do.
Yes.
In the way that it like with a rock garden it's mind-boggling how fast it'll detect that first rock, unlock that suspension way faster than you could.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Now, there's a lot of positives to Flight Attendant, but there are some things to note is that each of these sensors do have batteries. So you've got a lot of batteries on your bike.
You do. The good thing with those batteries is they are the standard Rockshxox or SRAM Axis batteries. So it's fully universal across their entire Axis lineup, whether it's a dropper post, a derailleur, a front derailleur. All the batteries are the same, including the Flight Attendant modules. So yes, there's more batteries. They're all the same batteries.
And another question that you might have is like, what if my power meter dies? What does my Flight Attendant do?
That is a good question.
It actually it automatically defaults to your open mode. So it's not going to keep you in lockout mode.
Okay.
Where you're like, crap, I'm in like the middle of a race and it's just firm the whole ride. Like that would just be horrible.
Yep.
So they've thought about these things. They're aware that it'll automatically default to your open mode.
Okay. And then even worst case scenario, that's where you could do the manual override and then keep it in pedal mode or lockout mode, depending on what you're doing. So you could still control it. It won't do it automatically, but then it would be like a regular lockout system.
Easy to do on your remote pod. You can have 2 remote pods for one for your shifting. If you've got axis shifting, which I would assume if you've got Flight Attendant, you most likely have the wireless drivetrain, transmission, or axis. And then you have another control pod that allows you to control your Flight Attendant or your dropper post if you've got a wireless axis reverb dropper post. So on that remote, you can command it. All you got to do is, I think, hold it down for just a second or 2, and then it just overrides into manual mode.
Yeah.
Real easy. So it's not going to be messing with your ride in any way. And overall, though, crazy just how well it functions. We've said it a million times already, but it's mind-blowing.
My question to you, Mark, is are there any downs, anything you don't like about the way it functions, or is there any features you'd like to see SRAM add to the Flight Attendant, like as a whole?
That's a really good question. I don't know about anything necessarily needing to be added, but what I will say is that your initial setup can be a little challenging. There's a little, it's challenging, but not at the same time. I don't know how to explain it.
It's a weird process, and it's not super obvious what you need to do. After you do it a couple times, it's not like it's hard, but it's confusing. It's kind of a convoluted process. Yeah.
It gets confusing.
Yep.
You have to pair everything to your derailleur. So the pairing system works really well, but if you're not used to it, it probably will take you a minute to figure it out.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to.
And then the calibration part gets a little confusing to calibrate the whole flight attendant as well as part of the initial setup. That's another part of that.
But once it's set up, it's set up. Like
once it's set up,
you don't need to set it up again.
Yes. There's just a lot to know with all the colors of the lights that give you an idea of what's going on. That's
kind of another thing is on the fork module is you've got 5 LED lights. There's 3 that are dedicated to telling you what lockout mode you're in, whether it's open, pedal, or closed. And then there's 2 on opposite sides. And you can set it up in a way where it'll kind of tell you what power zone you're in, like whether in
effort
from
zone.
from zone 1 to zone 5, I think. That's a really cool feature. So instead of just seeing your like raw wattage on your bike computer, you can actually see what power zone you're in. If you just look down, the lights will I think it'll go from like blue to red. I don't know what colors.
It's got 3 colors for your power zones.
3 colors. Okay.
It's got green.
Blue, red.
Green, blue, red.
That sounds
or
about
yellow.
Right.
I can't remember.
I feel like
I'm not
green, blue, red.
I think it's green, blue, red because red's always going to be your zone 5.
Exactly.
You're going pretty hard. But yeah.
Another just really cool feature.
Yeah.
Being like it processes all your data, so it'll show you some processed data as well instead of just raw wattages. So you don't need to memorize what wattages or what power zones. So yeah.
Yep. I just wish they maybe had like a little bit better tutorial or video to get you started on it.
Yeah.
Because they have a few of them out there from Sram, but they go so quick, and there's still some unanswered questions to them that you're like, all right. What's next exactly? I don't know. So that's what I wish it just kind of had. Other than that, I think the system is so good.
Yeah.
They've come a long ways from what it initially has been.
For being 4 years old now, it doesn't feel like a new technology that's just 4 years old. The way when it's working, like it's so polished, it works so well. Like it's kind of hard to see how they would improve it from here other than making the suspension respond a little bit faster. I don't even know what else. Maybe they'll like tie it into your heart rate monitor. I don't know.
There's got to be something like that. I mean, I don't know how. I think they're just going to the system's going to get smarter. And as our suspension gets better, it's going to just adapt to that even better because the more data it can have, better it runs. That's what makes a lot of these AI systems function even better. The more it's feeding the beast, the better it goes. So overall, though, I mean, there's just so much to talk about and go in depth on Flight Attendant, and I really wish we had more time. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to hone in on, but really, I think we've covered quite a bit for what Flight Attendant is in a nutshell.
A little bit of a basic understanding, a little bit of a history. So, like, now that you've kind of watched this video, if you're curious about it, call up your local bike shop, see if they don't have, like, some sort of demo bike or even a new floor bike that, like, they might let you pedal around with Flight Attendant. Because even if you're in a flat parking lot, it is wacky to experience. Like, you'll bounce on the suspension or you, like, try to do a wheelie or you bunny hop. Seeing how it responds in a flat asphalt parking lot is still super cool. So, if you have the chance to experience it, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
For sure. We would love to hear your comments on Flight Attendant. If you're for Flight Attendant, if you have ridden it, how long you've been ridden it, what's it like, pros, cons from your guys' side. Anything else that you guys have to say about Flight Attendant, I definitely recommend it if you can afford it. I think it's going to come down in cost down the road. They're going to make improvements and maybe that'd be cool if they made like a
budget version.
A budget version?
Yeah, pro version, budget version. That would be cool.
That'd be cool. So it'll be interesting to see where Flight Attendant goes. And the next topic that we want to be able to talk about is the predecessor, would you call it the predecessor? Not the predecessor, or the competitor of Flight Attendant, which is going to be
Fox suspension.
Live Valve.
Yep, Live Valve Neo.
Yeah. live valve. That is going to be the competitor to Rockshxox. So that's something that we want to dig into on the next episode if we can. Other than that, though, thanks for tuning in.
We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah.
All right. Peace.